Imagine jolting awake in a cramped studio apartment that still smells faintly of ramen and whiteboard marker, sunlight sneaking past blackout curtains onto a coffee-modeled MacBook Pro, and realizing, heart-thumping, that your demo for angel investors is now 9 days away, your entire runway fits on a post-it, and your founding team is really just you, a half-baked Figma mock-up, and one burning question. Can I build a fully functional, production-ready app with nothing but my voice? No mouse clicks, no keyboard shortcuts, just pure speech. Hey I'd scaffold a secure backend, style the UI, patch any CVEs, and ship to test flight. That sci-fi fantasy once lingered in futurist keynotes, but 2025 has crash-landed it in the real, messy world of seed-stage hustle. GitHub Copilot now listens through AirPods and spits entire multi-file commits, refactors React props, and even writes PR descriptions. Microsoft's real-time API streams near zero-latency speech to GPT-4o so you can debate architecture with your model like pair programming a sentient copilot. Replit's agent literally turns spoken feature requests into live Python Flask sites you can deploy on command. Apple just unveiled voice control for Xcode 26 so you can dictate Swift and navigate Interface Builder hands-free, and both O'Reilly and ACM have logged case studies showing code completion speed jumps 50 to 60% once a dev stops typing altogether and lets large language models bridge human intent to syntax. But hook aside, let's step back to the introduction. Software has always been bottlenecked by the latency between brain and fingertips. Einstein said his pencil was smarter than he was. But a pencil maxes out around 30 words a minute, and even the fastest QWERTY slingers top out near 120 WPM. Speech sits comfortably above 160 WPM, and conversational looping with an AI assistant approaches genuine real-time flow, letting founders externalize ideas at the speed they think. Voice coding promises to shatter creative inertia, open the craft to those with motor impairments, and slash dev costs in cash-starved startups. Yet the friction of keyboards is also a natural throttle that forces clarity. When you bypass that throttle, hallucinations, hidden security bugs, and runaway cloud bills can swallow your shiny prototype before you ever hit ship. Which leads straight to the problem challenge presentation. 2024's Copilot voice beta wowed TikTok with one-file demos, but a Forrester study found 41% of teams-based voice coding sessions inserted at least one severe vulnerability: unsanitized inputs, hard-coded secrets, or permissive CORS headers into production branches. Meanwhile, the GPT-4o real-time API changed pricing last quarter, tripling costs for high-traffic voice endpoints, and EU AI Act compliance now classifies unredacted voice logs as biometric identifiers, threatening 7% of revenue fines if your pipeline leaks raw audio. So the real question isn't just can you build by voice, it's should you, and if so, how do you safeguard speed with sanity, creativity with compliance, and convenience with control? To answer, buckle in for the exploration and development, where we dissect the 4 pillars of a voice-only dev stack: input capture, speech-to-code engines, context grounding, and continuous validation. Then stress test them across 5 real-world personas. Input capture begins with hardware. In 2025, Dicta Mic X3 earbuds use 6 mic beamforming plus on-bud noise reduction so you can code in a subway. Apple's AirPods Pro 3 tap their new ultra-wideband location chip to triangulate your jaw vibrations, cutting ambient cafe clang. Gamers strap on Antlion AI mod mics that chain inline edge TPUs to transcribe locally before anything touches the cloud. You pair the mic to your IDE, VS Code, Cursor, or Xcode 26, switch to hands-free mode, and the system starts chunking 250 millisecond packets to a transcribe endpoint powered by GPT-4o Transcribe, OpenAI's successor to Whisper, which halves word error rate under cafe noise now for speech-to-code engines. At midnight you utter, create a SwiftUI iPhone app named Latte Tracker, with login via passkeys and a Realm database. Scaffold unit tests. Copilot's new autonomous agent, demoed in May, doesn't just autocomplete. It forks an opinionated branch, references your org's private template repo, adds 6 files, and checks them in under a pull request flagged draft, so nothing merges unreviewed. Replit agent matches pace, reading your voice spec, compiling a Python Flask backend, adding Stripe test keys, and auto-deploying on Replit Cloud. It then returns a URL you can click or speak, To preview Apple's on-device foundation model, let Xcode interpret Swift voice tokens offline, spitting type-safe code suggestions that never leave the A-series society. A boon for HIPAA or GDPR devs who can't transmit FI over public clouds. Third comes context grounding, so the model knows your architectural boundaries. VS Code's Copilot voice overlays a 200K token sliding window, effectively your entire repo history, and responds to commands like refactor the network layer to async, await, or swap JS on serialization for the codable struct we used in user session. Apple's Voice Navigator exposes an prompt attribute in Swift that tags functions with natural language roles, so you can say, generate a storyboard for the payment sheet, and Xcode pipes the context into its LLM for precise UI creation. Still, context windows leak secrets. GitHub's Copilot Enterprise encrypts embeddings at rest and truncates them before they reach the upstream inference endpoint. Mitigating the echo leak exploit disclosed last quarter. Fourth is continuous validation. The guardrails that keep voice-generated code from crashing at 2 a.m. The modern voice pipeline includes real-time static analysis. As soon as Copilot Voice emits a file, it funnels through semgrep rules. Any insecure wildcard CORS policy or SQL injection pattern halts the commit and reads the error back to you in plain English. If the C passes, runtime tests spin up with Playwright for UI and K6 for load, all triggered by voice. Run heavy load test suite 3. Xcode's new, dictated diagnostics let you simply say, why is memory spiking after login? And the instruments tool narrates back suspected retain cycles. To ground this technology in reality, let's follow 5 reference founders building the same MVP, each leaning on voice to different degrees. Ava, an indie dev with carpal tunnel, uses 90% voice. She speaks specs, Copilot drafts Kotlin for Android, and she uses voice navigation in IntelliJ. She moves twice as fast but spends 12% extra on API tokens. Her biggest pain? Model hallucination. It invented a non-existent create reactive flow API that compiled but crashed. Ben, an iOS dev juggling an infant, codes while rocking a stroller, muttering commands into AirPods. Apple's on-device mode keeps FI offline, but he has to revisit 20% of UI code because voice punctuation misheard. Dart. Chloe, CTO of a fintech, restricts voice to skeleton code. She uses Replit Agent for a proof of concept, then has human devs review. They discover the agent pinned an outdated Stripe API version. Deepak, ex-Googler, builds a SaaS entirely by voice to prove a point. He hits 85% test coverage but still ships a cross-site WebSocket hijack vector. Patching costs 2 days. Elena, a blind founder, finally feels on equal footing. Her voice stack plus screen reader synergy means she navigates code faster than sighted peers, but she fights noisy backgrounds on calls. Lesson. Voice can level the field, but the human in the loop remains indispensable. That sets the stage for the climax, key moment. Your demo day arrives. You've built Latte Tracker, a cross-platform caffeine budgeting app, entirely with spoken commands. Copilot Voice wrote 9,300 lines, real-time API polished UI copy, and Xcode Voice Navigator integrated Apple Pay. On stage, you say, deploy version 1 to test flight. Enable serverless preview, and within seconds the app compiles, unit tests pass, and the QR code pops behind you. Investors applaud. Until a Q&A throws a curveball. How do you mitigate model leakage of user location data in server logs? Blood drains from your face. You forgot to mask real-time transcripts in CloudWatch. Mid-pitch, you whisper into your lapel mic. Patch API gateway. Strip audio metadata. Redeploy. Copilot generates the patch, C runs, and a fresh build flutters onto the screen. The crowd's jaw drops. Crisis averted, but the near miss sears a lesson. Velocity without governance is playing Jenga on a bullet train. Finally, conclusion, summary. Yes, in 2025 you absolutely can build and ship an app with just your voice. The tooling is real, the latency tolerable, and the productivity gains staggering. But doing so safely demands a 3-part contract. 1. Transparent pipelines. Log every prompt, diff every LLM change, and pipe code through static scanners. 2. Policy-driven context. Encrypt embeddings, redact secrets, and prune logs per GDPR and EU AI Act. 3. Human oversight. Pair voice generation with peer review, threat modeling, and red team fuzzing. Use voice for scaffolding, UI stubs, documentation, and repetitive glue, but keep critical crypto, compliance, and performance tuning firmly in human hands. In short, treat voice AI like a turbocharged junior dev. Brilliant at boilerplate, clueless about business nuance, and always in need of mentoring. Adopt that mindset and you'll compress idea to MVP from months to days, captivate investors, and maybe save your wrists in the process. Ready to speak your next big thing into existence? Fire up that mic, script your safeguards, and watch fingers become optional. Smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more tech challenges, future experiments, and real talk from TechWave 65.